Dancing Queen has just come on shuffle. I'm wondering if I should delete this video. Hi everyone, welcome or welcome back to How to Train Your Gavin. I hope you're having a great December so far and you have been loving all of the Bookmas content that is on YouTube at the minute. I absolutely adore this time of year, so I can see everybody's content, what they have planned for the month. And I'm not really taking part in Vlogmas or Bookmas or anything like that. I'm just going to keep uploading what I upload. I am doing more hours at work this month to help out with the Christmas rush, so I can't really produce more content, and also I just have no ideas, to be quite honest with you. Oh crap, there might actually be more because I've just spotted that I have more books over there. So actually today's video is kind of I was trying to think of something else that I wanted to put on my channel, and you know what, I love all of the end of year lists, I love all of the end of year content that comes up. It's kind of like we're starting fresh in 2022, and this kind of video is something that I do need to make so that I can hold myself accountable for finishing these series. I have a bad habit of starting a series and not really seeing it through, or maybe just reading the first one, loving the first one, taking so long to read the second one that I forget everything that happened in the first one, meaning I'll have to go and reread the first one. So this video is essentially going to go through all of the series that I'm in the middle of reading. These are only the series that I am definitely continuing, and these are all series that I am behind on. So I'm not including any series that I'm all up to date with. I'm not including a series that has a future sequel that isn't out yet. This is just series that have books out that I haven't yet read, so I am behind. I have finished quite a few series this year, which is great, but in 2022 I need to make sure that I continue this trend. Let's just try and put into one place all of the series I'm reading, and this is going to be a bit of a chaotic video, I guess, because I have written down all of the books and series that I need to read, but I haven't pulled them off the shelves yet, and I have fake snow all over my shelves. Like, I've already got it all over the floor. I don't know if you can see that, but I already have the fake snow all over the floor. I haven't even moved the books, and I also want to do a little running tally of how many books I need to read to catch up to all these series. That'll be interesting. And I don't even think I own all of the sequels either, but I do have a habit of buying a full series before even reading it. I need to also pack that in 2022. So let's get into the series that I'm in the middle of reading, and I want to start with the middle grades, and then I'll go into the young adult and adult series that I am in the middle of. This is just an order of just like how I saw it on the shelves, or I had some books lying around, I just wrote them down. So the first one is Fairyland. Let me just grab the book. So I have Fairyland. This is the first book, The Girl Who Circumnavigated Fairyland in a Ship of Her Own Making, by Catherine M. Valente, and I have just finished this one a few days ago. I really enjoyed it. This one follows a girl called September, and she ends up going to Fairyland. This is very Alice in Wonderland meets Wizard of Oz. It took a little while to get into it because some of it did come across as nonsense like Alice in Wonderland, but I do really want to continue the series actually, and there are 5 books in the series, which means I have 4 books in the series to read, but I don't have any of the sequels, and I might get them slowly but surely and see what happens next, because I am intrigued to see more of Fairyland, but I'm not in any rush really to finish the series. But this is like literally a recent read for me, so this is why I'm mentioning it first. So that's 4 books that I need to kind of haul and continue the series with. Another series I'm in the middle of is the A Clock of Stars series. I have read the first one, which is The Shadow Moth, and I actually need to read the sequel, Beyond the Mountains, by Francesca Gibbons. And this one has only come out a couple of months ago, and I really wanted to read it a couple of months back, but I lost during Play or TBR Ride, so I didn't get a chance to read this one. But I am excited to read it at some point. I might reread the first one while I read this one, but I'm not going to count rereads of early books in the kind of tally on how many books I need to read to catch up to all the series. This is just like brand new fresh books that I need to read for catching up with. And also this series follows 2 sisters, Imogen and Marie, who follow a moth through a tree, like a door in a tree, and it takes them to this magical world. We have a lot of portal fantasies in my TBRs, honestly, because I do love them, but that's essentially like the bare bones of the series. I don't want to talk too much about each series because this could end up being a long one, but I do want to give you a little sense of what these books are about. There's going to be so much mess at the end of this video. The next one is the Monsters of Brookhaven series, and I've read the first one last year, but I have yet to read The Shadows of Brookhaven, which is the sequel by Padraig Kenny. Now, the Monsters of Brookhaven series follows, I think her name was Mirabelle. She is part of a monster family that live in this house that's protected from the outside world, where like all the humans live and stuff. One day there was like a rip in the veil or something, and 2 kids end up coming through the veil and interact with Mirabelle, and they kind of say that monsters and humans aren't really too different. And again, I probably need to reread this book as well. But yeah, Shadows of Brookhaven is one that I'm very interested in reading. I've missed the spooky season to read this. I did want to read it for the spooky season. Next up is the Small Spaces series by Catherine Arden. I have read Small Spaces, Dead Voices, but I have yet to read Dark Waters, and this is the third book and most recent one as well. There's going to be 4 books, but I'm not going to count the 4th book yet because it's not out until next summer, I believe. But this series follows Ollie, and in the first book, anyway, she sees a woman try to dispose of a book in a river, but she takes the book from this woman, and it has like this kind of creepy story in it. We also have a smiling man who, when they are on a school trip, ends up kind of like terrorizing the kids. I'm trying to think of the shortest and most convenient way of, summarizing these series. But it's a little bit more than that because, different things happen in each book. And I just need to read Dark Waters. And yeah, so I need to add one more to that. I will probably reread the second book before reading this one because I reread Small Spaces quite recently. So yeah, I'll probably reread Dead Voices before Dark Waters. Next up, I am in the middle of the Unmapped Chronicles series by Abby Elphinstone, and the only book that I really need to read from the series is The Crackle-Dawn Dragon. Well, actually, that's a lie. I also kind of need to read Everdark. Everdark is a kind of prequel to the series. So the series is set in the Unmapped Kingdoms. They are like different kind of places. There's one, Rumblestar, which is in the sky. There is Jungle Drop, which is set in a jungle. So I have read the first book and the second book. Haven't read the prequel or the third and final book in the series, actually. Each book follows different protagonists, so you can actually read them out of order if you wanted to, but there is this kind of recurring element of a villain called Morg, like a harpy, and she is kind of like trying to take over the Unmapped Kingdoms, and, it's about these kind of kids who keep coming to the Unmapped Kingdoms to take her down. Yeah, I'm excited to read The Crackle-Dawn Dragon. I've been anticipating this one, but I think I might end up starting from the beginning again, and again, I keep saying this about every series, but I need to stop doing that because I have so many new books to read first. The next series that I do desperately need to finish is the Winter House series by Ben Goodison. I have read the first book twice now and really enjoy it. It follows a girl called Elizabeth who gets sent to spend a Christmas at the Winter House Hotel. While there, she discovers this book of puzzles that helps to unlock some secrets in the Winter House Hotel. It's just so good, it's so atmospheric, and a fantastic mystery series, but I haven't yet read books 2 and 3. So we have The Secrets of Winter House, which is the second book, and then The Winter House Mysteries, which is the third book. I don't know if maybe the series is finished now. I don't know if it was just, supposed to be a trilogy. I think this is a complete series. So it's just these 2 that I need to read for, completing this collection. Next up is, oh my god, is the Christmas series by Matt Haig. I have read A Boy Called Christmas twice now, I think, and I did really enjoy it. It is essentially an origin story for Santa Claus. We have a young boy who kind of ends up becoming Santa, and I don't really know what the second and third book are really about because I think it follows different people, but it's still set in this Christmas universe. But I have The Girl Who Saved Christmas and Father Christmas and Me. And these are some of the oldest books on my shelves as well, which is insane. I should definitely try and prioritize reading them. But also there is a novella kind of series of The Truth Pixie. So this is the second one, The Truth Pixie Goes to School. I haven't read the first one either, so I'd have to add that on the list. I just don't own it. And A Mouse Called Mika, which is a new one. It only came out, I think, a couple of weeks ago, but it is again set in the Christmas world. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more to add to the list. And you're starting to see a pile. We'll barely scratch the surface. Next up is the Jumbie series by Tracy Baptiste. So I have read the first one, The Jumbies. I have read the second one, Rise of the Jumbies, but I still need to read The Jumbie God's Revenge. Very excited for it. I really did enjoy the first 2. I will probably reread them again before I read them. I read these 2 last year, and I think by the time I get to The Jumbie God's Revenge, it would have been 2 years, difference between reading them. But essentially, this follows Corinne, who lives on this island where the Jumbies are real. They are kind of this Caribbean folktale. But one of these Jumbies, called Severin, ends up kind of bringing herself into Corinne's life. It's essentially Corinne trying to survive against the Jumbies. I will definitely reread the first 2, I think, for this one. But I'm only counting Jumbie God's Revenge on this video, which honestly, it looks fantastic. I absolutely adore the cover. And the covers of all of them, actually. I think they're so atmospheric and creepy. So yeah, excited. Next up is the Train to Impossible Places series by Paige Bell. I have read The Train to Impossible Places, which it's been a while now. What was the main character's name? Susie. Yeah, Susie, she is in bed one day when a train just crashes through her house, and she goes downstairs and she sees it's a delivery train, and I think it's goblins or something, taking packages and magical mail and things in this magical world, and Susie ends up joining them. Again, I might need to reread this. I have yet to read The Great Brain Robbery, which is the second book, and Delivery to the Lost City, which is the third and final book. And I've been excited to read this one. I love Lost Cities. I love Lost City adventures. So it just sounds right up my street, quite honestly. Next up is the Cogheart series by Peter Bunzel. And this one I've only read, again, the first one of. I still have the second, third, and fourth to read. So we have Moonlocket, we have Sky Circus, and we have Shadow Sea. So that is adding 3 more to the tally. I honestly can barely remember what happened in the first one. I read it for Believathon May 2020. I remember there was a mechanical fox. That's pretty much all I remember. But Lily's father's missing and silver-eyed men stalk her through the shadows. She has to kind of navigate this menacing world in order to kind of find her father. That's all I know. Love the fact that they all have sprayed edges. I definitely need to reread the first one, but I'm adding 3 more to the tally. Next up is the Moonchild series by Aisha Bushby, and I have read the first one, Moonchild Voyage of the Lost and Found, but I have yet to read the second and I think final book, which is City of the Sun. This one is a duology. It follows Amira, who she lives on the sea with her sea witch mothers, and they end up docking on land after a storm, and it's the first time Amira's been on land. And her djinn, her magic cat djinn, has been stolen by, I think, the Firebird. And I really enjoyed the story when I first read it. It was inspired by the Arabian Nights, and I think I will absolutely adore the second book. But yeah, I think it's just a duology, so I will be adding the second book to this tally, and I'm going to be saying that constantly. Oh my god, I'm already sick of myself. Next up is the Stormkeeper series by Catherine Doyle, and this one is the first one, The Stormkeeper's Island, which I read last year. I kind of rushed read it though because I was doing an interview with the author, and I was like, okay, I need to read this ASAP, so kind of rush read it. This one follows Finn, whose grandfather is the Stormkeeper, and he kind of keeps evil forces at bay from like this village, this island, and Finn, I think, is maybe destined to be the next Stormkeeper. I have very foggy thoughts on this one, to be honest, but the second book, The Lost Tide Warriors, and the third and final book, The Stormkeeper's Battle, are on my TBR for that reason. So I might again reread the first one and see if I really love this little trilogy here. Next up is the Perfect series by Helena Duggan. I have read the first one, A Place Called Perfect, but I haven't read The Trouble with Perfect or The Battle for Perfect. And from what I remember about this one is that Violet and her parents go to this really creepy little new village, and it's very Coraline-esque. Oh my gosh, again, I need to reread this one. I read it 2 years ago for Believathon, the very first one, and then continue and finish the series. Like, honestly, will I be able to describe any of the series I'm in the middle of reading perfectly? I don't think so. Next up is the Umbrella Mouse series by Anna Farger, and there is only 2 books in the series. This was a duology, and I've read the first one, haven't read the second one. This one is set in London during World War II, and Pip is this like little umbrella with a mouse. No, hang on. Is a little mouse with an umbrella. Okay, Pip is not the umbrella. And there is a bombing, and Pip ends up having to try and find her family in Italy. However, she has so many obstacles before she can even get there. The second book I haven't read yet, but it looks like it might be set in Paris, because we have the Notre Dame Cathedral there and the Eiffel Tower. So excited about that. But it has been 2.5 years since I read this one. You know what, I remember quite a lot of it actually. I remember there was a Churchill's Secret Service of Animals or something like that kind of helped fight in the war, and that was really cute, and I liked that aspect of it. So I will definitely continue reading it, even though it's been a while. I also have the Christmasaurus series to read by Tom Fletcher. Again, read the first one. Have yet to read the second one, which is The Christmasaurus and the Winter Witch. And there is also a new one as well that's come out, I think called Christmasaurus and the Naughty List, I think. Yeah, this was like really cute and whimsical when I read it last Christmas, about a young boy who ends up becoming friends with a dinosaur that's Christmas dinosaur. And I do love Tom Fletcher. He's from McFly. I love him so much. And I'm excited to continue the series. I will probably prioritise finishing it off next Christmas, though, when the third book comes out in paperback. The more books I pull off the shelf, the more snow goes on the floor. Next up is the Popkin and Stubbs series. I've read the first one, have yet to read the second one, which is The Haunting of Pelican City, and the third one, which is Ghostcatcher. And these are by Sophie Green. And I really enjoyed this one. It was very noir-esque, which I love saying. But yeah, this one follows Lil Podkin, who is in Pelican City. It's a very corrupt kind of city, very Gotham-esque, and she wants to be a reporter. She ends up coming across Ned, who is a ghost, and she has to like kind of get to the underbelly of the crime and deceit that's happening in Pelican City. And you know, it was so much fun reading the first one. I cannot wait to read the second and third one, and maybe I might do a whole weekend dedicated to reading them all. Who knows? All of the possibilities with these series, isn't there? Next, I have the Aveline Jones series. So the first one I've read, The Haunting of Aveline Jones by Phil Hicks, and then the sequel The Bewitching of Aveline Jones I have yet to read. This one was such a fantastic ghost story that I read last year. It followed Aveline Jones, who went to live with her distant aunt, I think it was. And there is like this ghost story about this woman who kind of kidnaps children. It was like really, really good. She ends up finding a book of ghost stories that belonged to a girl who disappeared years ago. And one of the ghost stories was, you know, scratched out, and Aveline Jones needs to find out why. I think in the second book it involves witches, so that's going to be very interesting. I'm very excited to read that one. Then I have The International Yeti Collective by Paul Mason, illustrated by Katie Riddell, and it's the second book that I have yet to read, which is called Shadow Spring. Followed Ella, who goes on an expedition in the Himalayas, and she comes across Tick, who is a young Yeti. But yeah, Shadow Spring I think is something that I need to read so I can finish off this little duology. Now this pile is starting to look a little bit dangerous. A little bit dangerous. Next, I also need to read the Raw series by Jenny McLaughlin, and I have yet to read Return to Raw, and I've yet to read The Battle for Raw. So The Land of Raw I read back in summer 2019, and I really enjoyed it. So this follows twins who conjured this land called Raw, and they thought it was imaginary when they were kids, but as they're a bit older, their grandpa gets kidnapped by a scarecrow that lives in the land of Raw, and the twins have to go in after him and save him in this world that they thought they just conjured up in their minds when they were kids. So it was very good. It was very Neverland-esque, and I'm excited to read the sequels. So that's two more that I need to read. I probably won't need to reread the first one because I do remember quite a bit of it. Yeah, it was very fun. Okay, next is Paula Santiago and the River of Tears by Taylor K. Mahia. And this one is just the first one. I don't own the second one, which I think came out rather recently. The Forest of Nightmares is what the second book is called. I remember in this one, it followed Paula and one of her best friends gets taken, and there is like this whole like legend of La Llorona. This one had a lot of Latinx kind of myth and legend kind of woven into it. It is Rick Riordan Presents, so you come to expect it from this kind of book, and I thought it was done really well, and I enjoyed it enough that I want to continue reading it. So I'll probably wait for the second one to come out in paperback like I've got this one, and continue the series. Then I also need to read the Green Glass House series. Read the first one for Believathon in 2020 and absolutely loved it. It was so good, so atmospheric. We had like a smuggler's inn that's usually quiet during like the Christmas period, but for some reason this year there are lots of people checking in, and I think it was Milo. Yeah, Milo is the kind of protagonist, and he has to try and figure out what's going on. So cozy, so wintry and atmospheric, so I loved it. But I didn't continue it on for some reason, and I actually have 4 books in the series to catch up on, but I only own 2 so far, which is Ghost of Green Glass House and Blue Crown. There is also The Thief Knot and the Raconteur's Commonplace book. Is it Raconteur? That is also on there as well. So I have 4 books to read to catch up on this series, this very amazing series. A little bit dangerous. Next up, I have The Worst Witch series by Jill Murphy. One of my favourite childhood series, got me into witch stories, and I started to reread these a few years ago, and I think I only ever read like the first 4, maybe 5, I can't remember, but I wanted to read them all again. But I only read the first one again, and this was, yeah, over 2 years ago now, and I will definitely want to reread this one if I'm going to do a whole series reread. R.I.P. Jill Murphy, you gave so much to my childhood, and I owe you so much, so thank you so much for everything you did. So I would absolutely love to finish my reread of the series so that I can honour her. I won't count this one as a reread on this video, but I do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 books to add to the tally. So we have The Worst Witch Strikes Again, we have A Bad Spell for the Worst Witch, The Worst Witch Saves the Day, The Worst Witch to the Rescue, The Worst Witch All at Sea, The Worst Witch and the Wishing Star, and First Prize for The Worst Witch. And this series follows Mildred Hubble, who always gets herself in trouble. She is not a very good witch, but she goes to Miss Cackle's Academy, and there she has enemies, she has friends, and she tries to learn the art of witchcraft. It's just so great and amazing. I used to love the ITV show, I think it was, the British ITV show with, I think her name was Georgina Sherrington, who played Mildred Hubble. Absolutely loved it. You might know the Tim Curry film more though, but I absolutely loved that series. I used to have like most of the episodes on VHS tape. Loved it. After that, I also had the Orphans of the Tide series to catch up on. I've read the first one, and I have yet to read Shipwreck Island, which is the sequel by Stuart Murray. This one was set on an island that was like the last city on Earth. There's been like the Great Flood. There is the enemy, and this village, this last city on Earth, is terrified of the enemy. And one day this boy washes up to the city in the belly of a whale, and everyone thinks he is the enemy returned. But our main character, Ellie, is it Ellie? Yeah, Ellie. She doesn't believe that he is the enemy return, so she tries to save him. So very gothic, very different kind of middle grade series than I've ever read before. Very excited to read the sequel, so I'll be adding that to the list very soon. Also have the Songs of Magic series. Now I started to read this, gosh, a few months ago I think it was, and I just couldn't for the life of me continue on because I'd forgotten most of what happened in this one. Because it took so long for this one to come out, I'd forgotten, because it's been 3 years since I read this one now, and I really loved it. It was like set in a world where the Pied Pipers kind of do things with their flutes. Like they can do like magic with it, and they can do like different songs and perform different kind of things. And we follow Patch Brightwater, who ends up going into jail for casting a forbidden spell. There's also the feared Pied Piper of Hamelin, who did, steal all those children away and nobody knows what happened to them, things like that. And he's in the jail as well. We also have a cursed girl who is now a rat, as well as a Dracogryph. Lots of things happened, so much I've forgotten. So I'm going to reread this one definitely before I continue on with this one, and before the third and final book comes out in January, I think it is. So this one I'm adding to the list. Then I have the 101 Dalmatians by Dodie Smith. I recently read the first one, which is the one that the Disney film is mainly based on, but there is a sequel called The Starlight Barking, which is, I think, a little bit shortish. I didn't continue on because I just didn't have time, but that is the sequel to 101 Dalmatians that I'll need to add to this. It says there is a Dalmatian in number 10 Downing Street. Is that what 101 Dalmatians 2 is based on? Not the live action one, but the animated sequel. Is it based on The Starlight Barking? I don't know, but it'll be interesting to find out. Also need to save London and the world, apparently. Then I also have the Lockwood & Co series, which some people have said is YA. I don't know yet, because I felt like the first book was kind of older, middle grade, maybe bordering on YA. So I've just kept it to this section of the video for now, but I have read The Screamer's Staircase. I only read it a couple of months ago. It essentially followed Anthony Lockwood and his team, who kind of solve like cases and like paranormal cases, and Lockwood & Co is like the agency that they run. And then I also have the Whispering Skull, I also have the Hollow Boy, I have the Empty Grave, and I have the Creeping Shadow, which is the final book. So this will be very interesting to continue on with. Another series I started about 3 years ago now is the Last Chance Hotel series by Nikki Thornton. I have yet to read The Bad Luck Lighthouse, and I have yet to read The Cutthroat Cafe. Now this one was a little bit weird. It followed Seth, who lived in the Last Chance Hotel. There was like a little bit of magic in it, and there was like a convention of wizards that come to this hotel, but during dinner one of these wizards is murdered, and Seth ends up being the one who has to like try and clear his name and find out who the murderer is, because he is like the kitchen boy and he is blamed for it. But I have yet to read Bad Luck Lighthouse or Cutthroat Cafe. I don't know what happens in those ones. Seth must like go to different places and solve crimes there, which is sounds really fun, actually. Then I have 7 books left in the Edge Chronicles saga to finish. I started rereading them earlier this year, and I only got through 6 of them. I got through 2 trilogies because they're all in kind of sets of 3 trilogies, apart from the Nate saga, which is like one big book, and then we finally end with the Cade saga, or the Jardie saga, I don't know how to pronounce that yet. These are by Paul Stewart and Chris Fidel, one of my childhood favourite series. Love the Twig saga so much. It's such a hard series to describe, but it's essentially like Game of Thrones, but for kids. We follow like different stories of people within the Edge, and like this whole world that's it's set on the edge of a cliff, right? But it's like very vast. There are the Deep Woods, which is where the Twig saga is set. And in the Twig saga, we follow Twig, who ends up going and living with like these trolls, but he doesn't belong there. So he ends up going on a journey, and he strays from the path, and he meets like different dangerous creatures along the way. And yeah, it's just a very vast world following different characters. Loads of different things kind of happen, and it's just so good. So I have 7 books to finish, and I can complete one of my childhood favourite series. Then I have the Lewis Barneveld series, and I can't remember where I got up to. I think I read the first 5. I started reading these in 2019, early 2019, and I loved the movie of The House with a Clock in Its Walls so much. When I first watched it, it was so good, so I wanted to read the series. Only made it 5 books through, and I still have 7 books left to finish. Yeah, House with a Clock in Its Walls, it follows Lewis Barneveld, who goes to live with his like distant uncle Jonathan, and he has this weird neighbour called Mrs. Zimmerman. She is a witch, and he ends up like learning magic from them, and it's just so good. It's like, a little bit older, it is a bit dated, but I find so much fun in them, and even though like they're not the best, I still have a great time reading them. So I have The Doom of the Haunted Opera, The Spectre from the Magician's Museum, The Beast Under the Wizard's Bridge, The Tower at the End of the World, The Whistle, The Grave and the Ghost, The House Where Nobody Lived, and The Sign of the Sinister Sorcerer left to read. I might start from the beginning again and maybe do a whole vlog reading all 12 of them, but these are written by John Bellairs, and then when he passed away, they were completed by Brad Strickland. I also have the Percy Jackson series I need to finish. I was supposed to read the third book like 2 months ago, and I forgot. I'm so sorry. So I still have the third book, The Titan's Curse, and then Battle of the Labyrinth, and The Last Olympian left to read to complete the Percy Jackson series, which I do feel like I do not need to explain what it is. It is, you know, Rick Riordan. You guys know what Percy Jackson's about. The last two middle grade series, I have loads of them on this list. But one of them is, oh, I've got it the wrong way. The How to Train Your Dragon series by Cressida Cowell. Now, I started reading these last year as well. I got a few books into it. But I do want to start and do a vlog where I read all of them at once. And I definitely read the first one. I'm just going to add 11 books to the tally because I think I still need to read books 2 through 12. I won't read out all of the names of these. There is a lot of them, but yeah, I think if you've seen the movie, you'll know what these are about too. So I won't explain what they're about, but I do absolutely adore Cressida Cowell and her writing. Honestly, she is so fun and amazing, and I love her to bits. You know, I want to do the vlog, I want to do it How to Train Your Gavin reads How to Train Your Dragon. I think that's just so funny and so witty. I mean, firstly, look at all of the sprayed edges. I love how all of these look together. Next is the Murder Most and Ladylike series by Robin Stevens. Last year, I got to Mistletoe and Murder. I read the first 5 books, I think it was. So I still have yet to read Cream Buns and Crime, A Spoonful of Murder, Death in the Spotlight, Top Marks for Murder, Death Set Sail, and Once Upon a Crime, which is a collection of short stories. Yeah, I have 6 books to add to the tally for that series. A little bit dangerous. Oh, I've got that song stuck in my head now. Right, so now it is on to the adult and YA books. So the first series is Ice Planet Barbarians. I've just read the first book, and I think these are by Ruby Dixon. I don't own any of them. I do have them on the Kindle or Kindle Unlimited. And there are 22 books in the series. There are more side stories and little novellas, but I'm not including them in this list. I just want to include the main chunk of the series. And so I do want to read all 22 of them, possibly for Paulathon 2022. And I did actually kind of enjoy the first one, surprisingly. And I do have a vlog of it. I think it might be up by now. And it essentially follows, what was her name again? Georgie? I think it was Georgie, who is kind of abducted by aliens as well as loads of other women. They end up crashing onto a planet, a blue planet, when they fight back from these aliens. And they end up coming across, these ice planet alien people, and it's full of steam, it's full of smut. I did enjoy it, I did. So yeah, I need to add 21 books to the tally on that one. I then have the Kingkiller Chronicles that I need to read too. I have read The Name of the Wind, which was pretty good, and I still have yet to read The Wise Man's Fear and The Slow Regard of Silent Things. This is more of a novella, so it's not really a full-fledged story, but yeah, I definitely need to read the second one at least. No idea when the third book's coming out, but I don't think anybody does. And I also need to finish off the Earthsea cycle, the Earthsea series by Ursula K. Le Guin, and I only have Tahanu left to read. I was supposed to read it last year and, finish off the quartet. Wasn't the biggest fan of this series, not gonna lie, but I still want to attempt the last book, so I've completed the series. Yeah, who knows, maybe I will end up loving it and think it's the best one in the series. I also have the Kingdom of Souls series by Rena Barron to read. The one that I need to read is Reaper of Souls. I haven't read that one yet. I read this one last year and I did like it. I will probably need a reread of it before I read the second one, but I still want to keep this on my list. I think it was a high 3-star for me, but I'm not really a big fan of the cover of the second one. I love this cover, but the cover of the second one, I'm not trying to judge it by its cover, but it doesn't bode well for me, to be honest. So yeah, that's another sequel I need to add to the tally. Right, I've just grabbed all of the rest of the series because I've got 3 piles to go. I'm just going to fly through these because I've been wasting a lot of bloody time. I've just had to charge the camera up during the meantime as well. Anyway, I also have the Saga series to finish off. I think I got up to volume 5. So I have volume 6, 7, 8, and 9 to read, I think it is. So adding 4 more to the tally. Saga, graphic novel series, sci-fi. I also have the Tay-Dragon Society series to finish, but I only have the Tay-Dragon Tapestry left. So only 1 more to go, and I think it's going to be incredible. I absolutely love the series by Kay O'Neill. So yeah, look out for that one. Very cute, very whimsical. So I have the Spellslinger series left to read. I only read the first one last year. I will most likely go through all of them. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Shadow Black, Charmcaster, Soulbinder, Queenslayer, Crownbreaker. I think there might actually be another one. And I'm not including the Gossi series just yet, because I'm counting that as a separate series. I think this is the final one, Crownbreaker. Okay, I have all of the Spellsinger, so I have 5 more to add to the list by Sebastian de Castell. Oh, I also have the Skyward series to finish. I've read these 2. It's the 3rd one I haven't yet read, which is Cytonic, I think it's called. Cytonic is the next book that I need to read from this series, young adult sci-fi. I need to read more sci-fi, but I have a few already on my TBR, which is fab. I have the Poppy War series by R.F. Kuang. I have the Dragon Republic and the Burning God left to read, which honestly I will again probably start with the first one again and maybe annotate this time as well, because this was one of my favourite books of 2020. Really, really good. So I will be probably reading the sequels for the first time and annotating them all, so that'll be fun. Brown Sister series, I've read the first one, Get Life, Chloe Brown, and I still need to read Take a Hint, Danny Brown, and Actual Age, Eve Brown by Talia Hibbert. Very excited. I absolutely adored Get Life, Chloe Brown so much. One of my favourite romances, I think, and it was just such a good time. So funny, really enjoyed the romance. Yeah, I'm excited to get back on this. I also have the Winter Night trilogy, which consists of The Bear and the Nightingale, The Girl in the Tower, and The Winter of the Witch. I've read The Bear and the Nightingale, but I have yet to read The Girl in the Tower and The Winter of the Witch. So I'm excited to read those. This would be in the perfect time to read it as well, with it being December. You win some, you lose some. I also have the David Bad trilogy by S.A. Chakraborty to read. I've only read The City of Brass, which I read, I think, 2 years ago now, so I will be due a reread. But it's the 2nd and 3rd book that I haven't read yet. I don't own them either, but they are The Kingdom of Copper and The Empire of Gold. But I really enjoyed this one when I read it, so I'm looking forward to continuing the series. I also have the Grishaverse, the Shadow and Bone trilogy to finish. So I've read Shadow and Bone, but I have yet to read Siege and Storm and Ruin and Rising, which I think I was supposed to read a couple of months ago, and I didn't, because I'm terrible. Shadow and Bone trilogy. I started reading these because the TV show came out. Haven't finished the TV show, haven't finished the books. The Farseer trilogy by Robin Hobb, I have only read Assassin's Apprentice, but I still need to read Royal Assassin and Assassin's Quest, which I don't own yet. But I did really enjoy this one, I thought it was really good, so I'm looking forward to continuing that. And the other books by Robin Hobb too, they all look fantastic. Another Brandon Sanderson series, the Mistborn series, I've only read book 1, which is The Final Empire. I thought it was a trilogy. Wait, there's more? And is there more coming? Right, this is new information to me, but I think there's actually more than 3 books. So I think this is the Mistborn saga, and there is the Well of Ascension, the Hero of Ages, and then the Alloy of Law? Shadows of Self? Why have I not seen these ones before? I'm just saying what Goodreads is saying. I didn't realise this. This makes me feel worse. But I did read this last year. Really enjoyed it. Looking forward to continuing the series, which I genuinely thought was only 3 books. I also want to finish off the Fear Street series by R.L. Stein. I've only read the first 4 books, which was what is in this collection. But there are actually a total of 51 Fear Street books. So I have 47 left to read. I don't know when I'll be able to get to them though, because I think they're a little bit harder to get hold of now. And the first 4 were re-released in a collection like this quite recently, and I really do enjoy this kind of look. I don't think they're going to be doing it with the other books in the series. I really hope they do, because then I will definitely make more of an attempt to read them. Wasn't the biggest fan of the first 4 books. Like, some of them were a bit weird, and I had glaring plot hole issues with some of them as well. But other than that, I think I would enjoy them. I would enjoy the ride of them anyway. So yeah, 47 Fear Street books I have to read too. Or at least I don't have to. I'm just making myself do it because, you know, I hate myself. I also have the Fortuna Sworn series by KJ Sutton. I've read the first one, which is Fortuna Sworn. I still need to read book 2 and 3, which are Restless Slumber and Deadly Dreams. There is actually a 4th book as well, and that one is called Beautiful Nightmares, so I need to get that book and read them all. But I did really enjoy the first book and can't wait to continue on with the series. Beautiful Nightmares looks so good, so I need to get myself a copy of that and finish off the series. Well, there are more coming, but, you know, just to get up to date on it. So that is 3 more to add to the TBR. And then finally, the one that I'm a little bit hesitant on, but I still kind of want to read, are the Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children series. This is the kind of series that I didn't realise would keep going on and on and on and on. I've read the first 2, which is Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children and Hollow City by Ransom Riggs. I've read these 2, but this was a series I read, I think, like 7 years ago, I think. So I would definitely need a reread. I own Library of Souls and A Map of Days, but I don't own The Conference of the Birds or The Desolations of Devil's Acre. Is The Desolations of Devil's Acre the final book? I feel like it should be. But that means I have 4 books to add to the TBR, but I will definitely have to read the first 2 again for me to remember what the hell happened in them. So this is the last series I need to read, and I still need to get the most recent 2 books in the series to complete the collection. So there we have it. Those are all of the series that I need to complete. I bet you I'm missing some. I bet you I am. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to leave this video a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a comment down below. Let me know if you are in the middle of very many series, which series you're in the middle of. I would love to know. And I will hopefully see you in the next video. Bye.